that got their attention. She would have laughed. It was our joke. We weren't really wives, dead straight, the pair of us. But we were good friends. We looked out for each other. We looked after each other's kids. We cooked for each other. Mostly she cooked for me. We looked out for each other. As Sarah would say, everybody needs a wife. The first thing that people noticed about Sarah were her teeth. They were perfect. White, straight, not a single cavity. My mother rubbed fluoride on my gums when I was a baby. When Sarah was 7, her father died, and the family moved to Vancouver from their native Fiji. Her mother always said that she was to blame for her father's death. Because she was the youngest, she was considered to be bad luck. My mother was very superstitious. By the time Sarah was started high school, her oldest brother took over looking after the family, and he actively looked for somebody to take Sarah off the family's hands. He found such a man in Harish. That Harish took Sarah to motel rooms for sex on a regular basis as part of the courting ritual meant nothing to the brother so long as the promise of marriage be eventually fulfilled. Harish was 26. Sarah was 13. When Sarah turned 16, true to his word, Harish married her. She showed me a picture of herself on her wedding day. She was wearing a simple skirt and blouse, standing on the concrete step of her mother's house. Her eyes had that vacant stare of an innocent awaiting execution. She was not smiling. Wasn't I a radiant bride, so happy? At 17, Sarah gave birth to her first child, a daughter, Irini. The beatings became more regular after that. I had to beg him to stop so I could put the baby down. When I met Sarah, she had taken her 4 children and fled her husband. I was in the middle of separating from my husband. We had a lot to talk about. The difference in our skin color, because of that, people didn't always think of Sarah and I as friends, as they would have otherwise. If we arrived at separate times to the restaurant, each saying that we were meeting a woman friend, the hostess wasn't very likely to put 2 and 2 together. When we were seated together, it was usually by the bathroom or the kitchen, and I would complain to Sarah about the substandard seating, and she would say, "Sherry, you're out with a brown person now. You just be happy they don't put you in the kitchen." I had 2 numbers I phoned when my ex-husband would come around banging on the doors and windows in the middle of the night, as he often did. I would phone 911, but first I would phone Sarah. You see, Dave was a bully, and like all bullies, he was really a coward. He would see Sarah's van pull up and he would run around to the back to hide her. We would stand and watch him slink around the side of the house and go out to his car. I had my restraining order ready for when the police came, and the line that said, if he steps on the property, he would be arrested, underlined, highlighted in yellow fluorescent. Upon hearing the words, "We cannot arrest him unless he does something first," Sarah lost it. The reason she went to the bloody court to get the bloody thing is though he can't do something first. The police officers looked at Sarah, seemingly seeing her for the first time, and I could see the wheels turning in their head. Who is this? The nanny? The maid? I am the wife. Well, that gave them something to think about. At 37, Sarah became a grandmother. She was devoted to little Sebastian. She looked after him. And because of her, Irini was able to finish her degree and go on to make a good living for herself and her son. At 43, Sarah, after having suffered a series of uterine cysts, underwent a hysterectomy. They left an ovary for me. That was very nice of them. It's called a roaming ovary. It's just roaming around in there somewhere. At 46, she suffered complete kidney failure. She would have to go 3 times a week to undergo 4 hours of dialysis, a process that left her feeling completely depleted and sick for most of the day and into the next day. She would no longer would she recover from this, and she'd have to turn around and go back. Sarah was very unhappy. I didn't realize, or I didn't want to realize just how unhappy she was. Life just finally got her down, and she opted to take herself off of dialysis, in fact signing her own death warrant. I argued, but it was no use. In the end, I had to accept her decision. Did you write it yet? Not yet. When? Soon. Better be. In 3 days, I won't be able to understand a word you're saying. She wanted to hear it, but I wasn't ready to write it yet. I couldn't. I was there with her when she died, 1 week to the day after she took herself off dialysis. She was 49 years old. I left the room so they could prepare the body. I went home, I cried, and I began to write the eulogy that I would deliver at her funeral, starting with the words, "my wife."